So it's not the constitution that is a problem per se, but those that are supposed to interpret it and then administer it.
See, what we're saying is that people should be passionate about their job. We should have people that love this country. People say, you know what, we don't want the regulation of petroleum products. We want the subsidy to continue. We want our refineries to be prepared. But you go talk to somebody who runs or works in one of these refineries, they will tell you why those refineries can never work.
There is a present and real danger for the corporate existence of Nigeria. Generally, this government is considered as weak.
It should not be so. If we remain like that, then we will remain in socio-economic and political thraldom.
So when you talk about passion, the people ruling us, they are not passionate.
Well, let's take
the House of Rep is not passionate, the senators are not passionate. That's why they are discussing without doing anything. Which sacrifice are they going to offer?
In Nigeria, governance is not about servanthood. Governance in Nigeria is about what can I get.
Right, welcome. This is another exciting and thrilling edition of The Agenda, your program that talks about matters arising in the country, Nigeria, and probably beyond. How have you been since the last time we saw? Well, previously, you'll be wondering, what do we do on this program? Previously, we looked at an important topic on sports, actually. That's to tell you how wide we cover issues that border on several political, security, and all of that. Last week, we looked at sports, talking about how to revamp the Nigerian sports sector on The Agenda. My name is Philip Ihaza. I got your mails, but you have to do something, about them, sending it quickly, especially on the show. Send your mails, your comments to agenda@loverplusnews.net so that you can be a part of the program. You're welcome once again to today's show. We hope to actually give you something very exciting on the show. Now, I'll be talking about a very interesting program today, but my name is Philip Ihaza, and I have a distinguished guest to do that with me on the studio, and his name is Mr. Omon Mejale. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us in the studio. Yeah. Now, he's a legal practitioner, a consultant, and public analyst. Yes, you're welcome once again.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Now, today's topic, we'll be looking at a very crucial one. It's been in the fore for some time now. It's the Nigerian government and anti-terrorism peace talks. Okay. Now, of course, that has to do with security, and it's been in the country for a long time. It's actually taken the front role in the headlines: security, security, security. Well, that's why we need to talk about it on the agenda. And there is a little background, so we can just go straight up. Don't forget, you can be a part of this program. All you have to do is send your comments. Now, we're looking at security, and a lot of people have said this and said that. Well, the most important thing is give us a way forward. What do you think can be done about the Nigerian government and the anti-terrorism peace talks? There is a background to this topic, and I'd like to just give us that briefly. Now, as the insecurity threat continue to constitute great challenges to President Goodluck Jonathan's administration, dialogue as an alternative towards fixing the Islamic sect insurgents appears to be top on the card. The Voice of America said on Tuesday, that's VOA, that it obtained a statement in Mecca, that's Saudi Arabia, from one Abu Mohammed, who claims to be a deputy to the sect's leader, Sheikh Abubakar Shekau. And then he said that the militant group decided to initiate the peace moves in response to numerous public appeals for peace in the country. Meanwhile, the sect has released a video recently that the purported dialogue talk is just media hype and a clear testimony of how deceitful the Nigerian government is. Now, in their words, they said, we are not part of this mess because our noble prophet has clearly stated that the true believer will not allow himself to be deceived twice. That video was released recently. What do you have to say about this? It was a response to the statement, that the Voice of America purportedly got from Abu Mohammed, a man that resides in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, about the peace talks.
Well, a lot of things are shrouded in secrecy. And terrorists don't actually come out to be identified unless it is not possible to hide their identity. There is talk going on between the government of Nigeria and these terrorists. As a matter of fact, even in full-blown wars, there's what is called a truce. And the parties keep talking until one is defeated or he surrenders or some other thing happens. So there is talk between the government and the Boko Haram. But the problem is that the Boko Haram appears to have become factionalized. In the view of analysts, there is the political Boko Haram, there is the autonomous Boko Haram, there are the armed robbery Boko Haram, and all that. So who are you talking to?
Faces.
Yes, exactly. There are different variants now of Boko Haram. So one that's
or terrorists.
It depends on the side that you are.
We're looking at terrorists generally.
Now, which of them is the government negotiating with? Because some people say there's a fourth arm of Boko Haram, which is the one that is organized by the powers that be. Let's leave that one in quote. So which one are they talking to? Is it the ones who started it? Is it the armed robbers who have taken over the facade of Boko Haram? Is it the ones now being funded by politicians? Which one is the government dealing with? That's the problem. So if you are talking to those, for instance, that have now been recruited and projected by the politicians.
And identified also.
Okay, then the autonomous ones will say, well, we are not talking to anybody.
Anybody, and they just go about with their speech.
Yeah, they go about doing what they have always done, because as a matter of fact, if they insist on their demands, then it's not possible to talk.
Now, you know, the Boko Haram sect said it only had 2 sessions of dialogue in 2001 with the federal government. You know, and that was the period where it actually failed. You know, was aborted halfway. And then the group also asked parading themselves as fake negotiators to desist or, you know, face the consequences. That was also in their speech released recently. You know, the sect actually said that the negotiators were only taking advantage of the dialogue situation, you know, to take money from the government. What's your take on this?
Yeah, well,
is it possible to have some people, you know, projecting themselves as Boko Haram?
Absolutely.
Without the government.
This is a fluid situation.
Searchlight.
We have people who say, well, we constitute the main elements of Boko Haram, but their identity is not known. It's certainly in a situation like that, where you have people who are as brilliant as Nigerians, some people are bound to cash in on this. I say, well, especially when the clamor is for the government to negotiate. I say, well, this is what we want. I mean, if we are settled, this thing will be over. It's not impossible to have such people who cash in on the situation, take advantage of it, and melt into thin air. That's where I started. Now, the issue is, it is the responsibility of government to discover who the true architects of Boko Haram are. It should not be left to guesswork or speculation.
Especially with the vague statement from the president that they are involved, they're in his politics, they're in his camp, and everywhere in the system. That was much we heard.
Quite a disappointing statement. Quite a disappointing statement. If that is the case, then it means they are known. If you come out to say, I have people in my organization that are involved in this, it means you know them. If it is a question of you just speculating, then you don't say so until you are sure. We expect the president to say things he's sure of. He says they are in the judiciary, they are in the legislature, they are in the executive
arm of government.
Therefore, they can be identified. Who are they? Nobody has been asked to sit down. Nobody has been asked to resign. Nobody has been punished. Nobody has been arrested. Where are we? What is this? Where are we heading to?
Do you think he has a reason for not actually making them known to the populace?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think that there's a problem in the presidency, especially when you look at these woolly statements coming out from everyone there. Minister of Information, the president himself. The president was in Trinidad and Tobago. And when he was pointedly asked, why have you not reined in these Boko Haram terrorists? He said, well, don't forget there are our sons, there were brothers, there were husbands and their wives, so it is not proper for him to send in troops to eliminate them. What was that? Those that are being killed, are they not our brothers? Are they not husbands? Are they not mothers? Are they not Nigerians? Then the Minister of Information comes out to say, well, we are negotiating because we want peace, and we are looking at a situation where, because these people are members of the family. When did we begin to internalize crime and regard impunity as a family affair? When did this start, really? And we must be the only country in the world that does that. For the first time in 2009, the American government officially sanctioned the killing of an American citizen by the state, Al-Farwaki. He fled America and went to Yemen. He was hiding in Yemen. The American government agreed that he should be killed by the American state. And F-16 jet fighters were launched to take him out. That's an American citizen. But because his antecedents, his activities, and his lectures, everything, the inflammatory rhetoric coming from him, threatened America, the government decided to eliminate him. He's an American. It was the American government that decided to eliminate him because he was a threat to the majority of Americans.
And the total opposite to a true American.
To the dynamics of America. So if we have a son, now, this thing is going to get progressively worse. So it means we are going to forgive armed robbers because they are our sons. We're going to forgive kidnappers because they are our sons. We're going to forgive hired assassins because they are our children. Hello, where are we heading to?
Wow. Mr. Omochele, let's look at this case, the Peace Committee set up recently. 41 members Peace Committee set up, by the Northern Governors and, in fact, the Nigerian Governors Forum generally, because they had 31 candidates in the 41. Let's look at this. Do you think it's timely at this point where it looks like it's a virus that has eaten into the security system of the country? Do you think the setting up of that 41-member committee is timely?
I'll tell you something. First, probably all governments in Nigeria, with the exception of a few. When I talk about governments now, I'm talking about the federal and the states. They believe that when you throw money at a problem, it will be solved. All right? That's one. Two, I'm going to tell you here and now that for the past 6 months, there has been what you can liken to a mob rule in the North, in the sense that the governors across the board are now afraid. The emirs are afraid. Now, you would have heard that some emirs were fired, attempts were made at eliminating them. Yes. Those were emirs that gave information to security agencies. Now, you would have heard of governors saying that, well, the offshore-onshore dichotomy for sharing oil revenue is going to be reviewed. Some have gone to court. And they are saying, well, we are withdrawing from the idea of state police. Because virtually every governor now is careful. Especially the northern governors, they withdrew from the creation of state police. You want to make statements that will not antagonize Boko Haram terrorists. You want to be seen as fighting for the North. So this peace committee that you have talked about, one, the number is too much. Now, I don't know how easy it's going to be for 41 of them to meet.
Well, we almost had a national conference. Don't you think you have been...
No, we're already at the national conference.
Okay.
Two,
yes.
These are disparate elements with diverse interests.
And beliefs.
Three, they are good. Very many of them will go there to feather their own nests. Apart from people like Kuka,
the Bishop
Kuka that you can Sokoto that you can vouchsafe for, and a few others that I saw on that list. It's very difficult for anyone now to think that anything tangible is going to come out of that committee, except perhaps they are going to meet and say, why don't you lay down your arms, and then we'll pay you compensation, and then you will be forgiven.
But then they've refused to even grant any form of dialogue to these committee members. They released a statement, just yesterday.
No, where you see,
So how will we go about that?
You see, when these issues come up, even when you are talking, you continue with these inflammatory rhetorics.
Okay. But
like, oh, well, there's no way we are ever
backstage,
going to talk to
there's
you.
something else
because
going on.
One, that is meant for your followers.
Okay.
Because don't think that it is everybody that has approved this negotiation. A negotiation has been done secretly by both sides. So from time to time, somebody makes a statement to let you know that don't take me for granted. Okay, so that's the way I interpret some of these statements. When the Palestinians and the Israelis were negotiating in 1979 at Camp David, such inflammatory rhetorics were still coming out from both camps.
Both parties, yeah.
Sometimes Menachem Begin would just get up and say, I'm leaving for Tel Aviv. It will take all Qatar can do to bring him back to the table. There are sometimes the Palestinians will be there, the Israelis won't come. These things do happen. I'm not taken in by these rhetorics. There is a discussion going on. It has been admitted by both sides.
Okay.
But the problem is, what is going to be the result? Are we looking at a situation where government will, where perhaps these people will come out and say, well, we surrender? Because they can surrender to the Nigerian government and say, we lay down our weapons.
Based on, some
there
objectives.
might be no compensation. There might be no package. Well, we lay down our weapons, and then you sort out, are they going to be forgiven or are they going to be tried?
They are brothers. Do you think they'll be tried?
Well, that's the area we are going to live for government. That's the area we are going to watch in the days to come. What happens to those who have lost their lives? What happens to those whose properties have been destroyed?
Do you think that's the reason that Christian Association of Nigeria has actually decamped from any form of dialogue, with the Boko Haram sect or the terrorists?
Of course, the Christian Association
because
of
they've
Nigeria
suffered
has been the worst hit.
Yes.
In terms of casualties. And they appear to have been the target of the Boko Haram terrorists. And especially when I don't even think they are carried along. The government is not carrying them along. The government is not telling you who is negotiating. The government is not telling you the terms of negotiation. The government has not told you the venue for negotiation. So what are you going to support? You don't know what is going on. It is what you read in the newspapers. And then the gossip that you can pick up on VOA, BBC, and other. Our government prefers to talk to journalists outside, foreign journalists, than to talk to our own journalists, or to use our own media. So these are the issues. You want to sympathize with the Christian Association of Nigeria, and you think that their position is justified, because they don't know what the government is going into. Are you going to come out to say that, well, we're forgiving these people? Or are you throwing up your hands in the air and telling us that you are not able to deal with this problem like you have always done, like you are not able to deal with armed robbery, you are not able to deal with kidnapping, you are not able to deal with hired assassins? Are you telling Nigerians again that, well, this is the end of the road, that you are on your own? Though we all know we are on our own, but there is a little semblance of governance there. We can still talk about a president. We can still talk about governors. But the truth is that nobody can sleep with his eyes closed. You have to be your own security guard. So that is, I think that I applaud the position of the Christian Association of Nigeria.
Now, you talked about media. Actually, do you think it's the media or it's the government that is finding it difficult to, project through our media in the country, or the media is actually scared of projecting their own views, the truths, because they've received several threats from the Boko Haram? They made in their statement again yesterday, stating clearly that their battle is not only to those with the guns, but those with the pen. So it might also be that the media is actually shying away from the truth, or drilling down on information that are supposed to be made to the public.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. The Hausa correspondent of the BBC was threatened. That has not stopped him from reporting. Even the Voice of America itself. And I like to believe that the media still regard themselves as being at the front line of the battlefield.
Of the fight.
They are not at the rear. The media, they are at the forefront. And they have always been. The media, I don't believe they are cowed or that they have been intimidated, even with the spate of bombings of media houses.
Especially.
I don't think that they are intimidated. There has been an attitude, a kind of attitude by the government, particularly the federal government, in rather projecting policies and actions of government through the BBC, through CNN, through the Voice of America,
houses, yeah.
and not the NTA, or Silverbird, or Channels, for instance. They prefer to grant interviews to foreign journalists than to grant interviews to Nigerian journalists. You find a Nigerian journalist asking them at the airport or wherever, "Oh, what's your opinion on this?"
And no comment. On the comments.
Or beware of dogs. Yeah, so that kind of cynicism is still there. But I want to let you know that I understand them. I can excuse them because they are not prepared for these questions.
Exactly.
When they wake up in the morning, they're not thinking about Nigeria. But unfortunately, when they go out, they find that inexorably they have to answer questions regarding Nigeria. And so when the foreign journalists ask questions, they have to provide answers.
They're not in the environment, and then they can boldly give them.
Yeah, and then you cannot. They also find that they cannot bully these journalists into submission. All right, but here you can order that a journalist should be arrested because
and even beaten up
because it's been irritating you.
Well, you're still watching The Agenda, and we're looking at a very serious issue today. We're looking at the Nigerian government and dialogue with with terrorism, actually terrorist groups and all of that. We're looking at the dialogue. So, with that respect, I want us to still look at the committee members, because they are like at the forefront of these peace talks. Do you say categorically that these peace talks are actually ongoing? From your point of view?
When you say committee members, I want to believe you are talking about the committee
generally,
set up by the northern governors.
Yes.
That committee is set up by a section of the country. That is not the committee that is already negotiating.
But we have the Nigerian Governors Forum, which comprises of the 36 states.
It is not the Governors Forum that set that up. It is the 19 northern governors that set it up. And it was inaugurated by the governor of Niger State.
Yes, who is the chairman?
Yeah, he was the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum.
Because most of them are actually northerners.
Yeah, they don't even pretend that it is an action of the entire Governors Forum. So it is restricted to the north. There's no southerner there.
Sure. Because I was coming to that.
Yeah, so, and they have not started to negotiate. But perhaps because of the pointed accusations at northern elites that they have not done anything to reduce or nip this insurrection in the bud, then they have tried to come up with this committee so that people can see them doing something. But I don't envy their position because I know the difficulty under which they operate. Now, you are between the devil and the deep blue sea in the north. You are northern elite. You advise these terrorists, they come after you. The government is not able to protect you. You don't say anything, you are hounded. Nigerians say you have not commented. So what do? It's probably better to keep quiet. But keeping quiet at this time is not patriotic. Let this be your life, if this is what you can do for Nigeria. So get up and speak. So I think that's what the governors are doing now. They've set up this committee. Well, let us not dismiss them. Let's give them some time. But I believe that it's unwieldy, that the number is too high. Now, you find that is the usual Nigerian problem. Every locality, every profession, every inanity has to be represented.
Ably represented.
Yes. So you are talking about 41. Now, how are you going to coordinate it? I don't know the chairman, but I hope one will have been appointed.
Okay.
And the secretary and where they will meet.
Let's look at on the part of the federal government? Has any form of peace talks begun, especially with the new appointed security advisor, Sambo Dasuki?
We must read the body language of the federal government. General Azazi made it clear he was not into negotiating with anybody. He was ready to crush the terrorists. The moment the president changed him, it was clear to analysts that the government was set to negotiate, especially when it was called the Sabo Dasuki that was brought in as the NSA, where this is one of you. So, sir, this is your mandate, go and negotiate with your people. And he immediately went in. He's not noisy anyway. Immediately went in, he visited all those areas, he got some information. He is at the heart of this negotiation, and I believe headed by the vice president. So it was clear from the day he was appointed that the government had opted for negotiation by his appointment alone.
Okay. We need to take a break.
Right.
We need to take a breather. We're looking still at issues concerning security, the Nigerian federal government, or the Nigerian government rather, and dialoguing with terrorist groups. Let's see how far this can take us, but we need to take a break. And when we come back, there is more. Don't go away. This is the agenda.
So it's not the Constitution that is a problem per se, but those that are supposed to interpret it and then administer it.
See, what we're saying is that people should be